Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is another sponsored video, so thank you so much to Sam for sponsoring today's video. We're reacting to IU again, our girl IU. This is a performance that is more recent, which is super exciting. We just did her Killing Voice, so if you missed that, go check that out. But this clip is from 2022. It was her concert. She released this, and this is her song called My Sea. So we're really excited for a live recent performance of IU, so let's check it out. You want anything else? You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're new to our channel, we are Chase and Malia, and we are voice teachers, and we are singers as well. So we are professional singers, and we love the voice and have studied the voice for years. So what we'd like to do is we like to take apart what these professional singers are doing so that we can break them down for you, as well as using them for our own techniques and our own singing in the future. So if that's something you think you would like, go ahead and hit that subscribe bell.
Definitely. Let's get started.
Subscribe bell is not what it is.
Let's get started.
그러나 시간이 지나도 아물지 않는 일들이 있지. 내가 날 온전히 사랑하지 못해서 마음이 가난한 밤이야. 거울 속에 마주친 얼굴이 어색해서 습관처럼 조용히 눈을 감아. 밤이 되면 서둘러 내일로 가고 싶어. 수많은 소원 아래 매일 다른 꿈을 꾸던 아이는 그렇게 오랜 시간 겨우 내가 되려고 아팠던 걸까. 쌓이는 하루만큼 더 멀어져. 우리는 화해할 수 없을 것 같아. 나아지지 않을 것 같아.
Okay, first
Wow.
thoughts?
I feel like the way that she navigates like the high part of her register, we talked about this last time we reacted to her. She just has such a forward nasal resonance that is so, I think, necessary, but also just really brilliant in that place in her voice. Like it sounds really, I think brilliant is the best word I can find for it right now.
One thing that I think struggle with just as a listener in general is that I get really tied up in the idea of efficiency, and people say that all the time on the channel that you know it's probably hard for me to enjoy stuff because I'm too busy like thinking about the optimal use of the voice and all that kind of stuff. But I think that one of the reasons why her breathiness doesn't bother me a ton is because she's not pushing on it. You know, it's she's just kind of letting it out, and it's you know, I definitely don't think that it's the most efficient thing, but I don't know. I think it's going to be less damaging than a lot of people who have that breathy quality because she's not going la la la,
Yeah.
la la la, la la la.
Yeah.
Where it's not only are you doing that whispery thing, you're also pushing it. She's la la la.
Yeah.
La la la. Makes it a lot easier on your voice to do that over and over and over again. And I think that makes a big difference. We've said this for years on the channel, that how you use your voice matters.
Yeah.
And while sound should of course be your goal at times, how you use it matters. So if your goal is a breathy thing and that's what you want to do, that's great. Just make sure you're like IU, not pushing on it as you do it. And that's one of the things I actually am surprised, because I've seen some comments of like, wow, I'm surprised that Chase hasn't said, you know, hasn't torn apart the breathy thing.
Yeah.
And I would if I felt like I needed to, but I literally was thinking about that myself. I said, why haven't I done that? And so that's why I think that's where the difference is for me.
I think that you bring up a good point too. Like when she fully engages, it's a very efficient sound, which I think gives us some insight that she is more than capable and choosing to sing, in certain ways for certain effects. And I would agree with you that the beginning of this song isn't even as pleasant to listen to, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't until she started really going into that higher part of her register that I think she really lives in, and it clicks on for her. Again, also with concerts, we never know the circumstances. This could be in the middle of the show. You've sung an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. There's a lot of real life aspects to singing that impact our instrument, because our instrument is our voice. So, or our instrument is our body, and I think that those are things that we always take into consideration when we're even just like talking about live performances.
Sure.
So, but
well, yeah. With all of the singing that we've seen her do, I think it is 100% intentional.
Yeah.
I think it's a style and a technique that she is kind of honed and made part of her sound and how she performs as an artist. So I don't, even if it is in the middle of the show, I definitely think that this, you and I are not super into the whisper singing.
Yeah, I think that's probably a preference.
And so, we just can't wait for her to get up into the next part.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that it's a intentional choice.
Totally. Let's keep going.
어린 날 내 맘엔 영원히 가물지 않는 바다가 있었지. 이제는 흔적만이 남아 희미한 그곳에 설렘으로 차오르던 나의 숨소리와 머리 위로 선선히 부는 바람 파도가 되어 어디로든 달려가고 싶어 작은 두려움 아래 천천히 두 눈을 뜨면 세상은 그렇게 모든 순간 내게로 오는 꽃인 선물이 되고 숱하게 의심하던 나는 그제야 나에게 대답할 수 있을 것 같아.
I want to just talk about that part that kind of she hangs out at. It's just impressive.
의심하던 나는 그제야 나에게 대답할 수 있을 것.
Like where she hangs out up there, and she goes there multiple times throughout the song in that melody, and I feel like she just has that like really forward resonance that makes it very exciting. Like it's not the same thing as belting, right? Like she's not belting because she's not really using her chest voice in that space. She is just having this really incredible forward nasal resonance that I think is a product of good vowels, a product of good air support and resonance. Yeah, it makes for that, I think, uniquely, not uniquely, I think just really efficient sound.
Yeah, it's kind of that, it's that piercing, clear quality that, I don't know, I look for that in different areas. Like at the beginning of the second verse here, I thought she could use some of that, especially when she's coming in a little stronger. I thought she could use some of that. So let me go back here.
어린 날 내 맘엔 영원히 가물지 않는 바다가 있었지.
So it's still a little bit, and you can tell, I think, that the whole band, everybody's at like the next notch up. You know, we're not big yet, but it's the second verse. You already sang the chorus once. You don't want to do it the same exact way as you did the first verse. They just step it up a little bit, and it's still a little bit la la, right? And I think you go la 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 la. You know.
Yeah.
But it's that clarity that
that's a
we
good word.
love about the upper parts. You
Yeah.
know, when she goes up there, especially for the chorus,
Mhm.
that I think she, you know, can bring down lower. How do you do that? This is something I've struggled with for years. Honestly, it and I hate using this word. Relax isn't the right word, but it's a little bit of that. It's the opposite of tense is loose. It's not relaxed, it's loose. So I go always back to speaking. You know, when I'm speaking, I'm not pushing, I'm not holding, I'm not doing anything. And so I try to go through the lyrics and just relax into that. And I don't have to place it in my nose. I don't have to place it in my head. I just speak and give it air, all the things that we talk about, air and vowel, and then letting go.
Yeah.
You know, not getting in the way and manipulating your voice to do all of these things. I think will give you that efficiency and that clarity when the moment might call for something that's not so whispery intimate.
Yeah. Totally.
선 너머의 기억이 나를 부르고 있어 아주 오랜 시간 동안 잊고 있던 목소리에
Straight tone.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it? How does anyone
How does
do
anybody
it?
do it? I
How
think
do
we talked
people
about this
do
last time. I felt like for me, it was like a pulling back of air. But I think that we discovered last time we talked about this, that it's really actually, you have to use a lot of air. What do you think?
I am a wackadoo, crazy person, but I literally think if you think it, this is why I feel like I'm crazy.
Oh, wackadoo.
If you think it, then it will just happen,
Yeah.
right? La la la. It didn't start
Yeah.
until I thought start. I don't change anything. I don't do do anything. I just think the note. And I might feel a little bit of something like resisting, but not in the way of like, this is my note. And I'm like really pinching down. To me, it's all about a word we use all the time is intention. It's all about intention. So if you, and this is one of the things I really love about her is that it seems like everything she does, it's kind of evident that like the way she phrases something, the way she feels something out, the way she sings the first verse versus the second verse versus the first chorus versus the second chorus is all different.
Yeah.
And intentional choices have been made.
Yep.
And I just love that because that's just, to me, that's real artistry. And that's how these performances get so exciting and so interesting to watch. And look at how many people are in that stadium.
It's unreal.
So it's things like that where it, I think if you intend it, especially because our voices are part of our bodies, it will happen because your body knows how to use your voice better than you do.
I think that's a really good point too. I think also because so much of singing is mental, like it's just such a mental game. We talk about that all the time with it being high or low. Like, don't think that. Don't think it's high. Don't think it's low. Just think it's not of those things.
And magically it's not.
And it really does. I mean, it is extremely powerful when you do that. So I would agree with you. If you're somebody that needs the technique of it, I think that it's worth looking into that. But I think sometimes we can get bogged down with the technique of it. And even just like the physics and anatomy of it. I think sometimes it's important to understand, especially when we come to places where we're struggling. I think it's important to understand why things are happening. But I think that ultimately what we're doing is very mental. It's all mental and we have to use metaphors and thoughts and all that stuff to kind of wrap our head around it.
Yeah.
And the stadium is absolutely packed full and it's blowing my mind.
It's crazy.
Okay, let's watch that because you can even see in her body
Yeah.
that she is like fully clenched.
Bearing down.
Like fully clenched.
Very cool.
Watch her arm.
I think
What do you
though
think about that?
her body is, but her jaw looks like where it's always supposed to be. You know what I mean? So many people go, ah, or
Yeah.
they really,
Like
you know,
hold.
they're holding. And so I think she's stable.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it like when, you know, it's like what I said earlier about the difference between the opposite of tense is not relaxed, it's loose.
It's loose.
And you can still be powerful and engaged and your muscles are kind of ready to go, but loose. You know,
Yeah.
that's how people play professional sports, all that kind of stuff. Let's go back there's a shot here of her jaw and she seems pretty comfortably open, not like huge.
Yeah.
Her neck doesn't have a ton of stuff going on. Her shoulders aren't up here, but you can tell her whole, you know, the lower body where the real support comes from
Yeah.
for the air is activated. It is going.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I'm a pretty big fan of how she's doing this. Let's watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think right at the end there, she's like starting to feel it a little bit,
Yeah.
but also she doesn't hit that note.
Yeah.
She just da.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Well, because part of me also wants to try it. Like,
Yeah.
because it is pretty high up there, but I feel like what she's really bearing for is the squeak at the end.
Sure.
I feel like she's really like prepping herself. I don't think that note is technically that high for her. Do you
Sure.
feel like I don't feel like that's
but
very
it's
difficult.
about the support.
It's the
It's about
support,
it being
yeah.
like this big. You know, she's not super floaty in it.
Right.
She's really getting after it.
Yeah, she's like fully activated in it. But I think it's that squeak she's doing at the end that she's kind of prepping for, which is, again, like, you know, artistically, I don't do stuff like that. That's not a choice that I make in my singing. I've noticed her do it a few times.
Sure.
I feel like that is
I don't think it's appropriate for the genres we sing.
right. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't-
good point. Mhm.
You know, I don't know if it's just a choice.
But I also think that this is just a good example, like you talking about straight tone, very, very straight tone, right? And she, like, once she starts to kind of grab a little, you hear the waver, right? Like,
Yeah.
I kind of felt like
Sure.
you kind of
You
hear
that too. You hear a little bit of a waver.
And I think that,
That's the inconsistency and like.
yeah.
Sorry, I just
No, absolutely. I think you're helping me try to explain.
When we hear really healthy vibrato, the signs of it are a super consistent wave.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It's this, as you know, the same speed the whole time, the same kind of width the whole time, and it's not right, where it's kind of shaky sometimes, kind of stop. You know, it's not all stop and go. And she had a really nice straight tone.
Yep.
And then, you know, once it kind of
Just at
came
the
a
very
little
end.
bit later,
Yeah.
it started to waver a bit, and that might have been why she pulled off, though.
But I also think that is like, I think this is obviously a big like pinnacle moment. Pinnacle moment in the song. You know, it's an extended long high note to which she like ends with
She's wearing a crown.
she's wearing a crown and a gown. You know, like I
There's
understand
an orchestra
exactly.
on stage.
There's a lot of performance
It's a big
going on.
deal.
And so I'm not trying to diminish any of that's happening. I
Yeah.
think we're just talking about what's happening. We feel like we're hearing technically in this moment.
And
it's-
we've been there. You know, we not
No, we've not
not
been there.
a 10 million person stage.
Stadium.
But I mean, hitting that high note and or like being, you know, at the big part of this show,
Eyes on you.
and you're yes, you're trying to show all of the preparation and practice you have done up to this point to showcase what you're trying to showcase. but at the same time, sometimes you're trying to get through it. You're trying to hold on to that one spot.
Yeah.
And so there is no flawless, like perfect performance, but we like to know, we like to diagnose this kind of stuff because we might be there again.
Mm-hmm.
You might be there at some point.
Yep.
You know, we're not trying to give IU voice lessons. We're trying to give you voice lessons, and we're trying to process this stuff of like, okay, how would I handle that?
Yeah.
Or what am I hearing here so that it's, you know, it's practice in itself.
Absolutely.
Diagnosing this kind of stuff is not trying to take her down as much as practice these scenarios for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Let's keep watching.
다시 날 모른 척하지
Dang.
Is the stage moving?
No.
Or is it
those
just
are
the lights?
That's crazy. I don't know, maybe the stage did move where it went out.
Interesting.
그럼에도 여전히 가끔은 삶에게 지는 날들도 있겠지. 또다시 헤매일지라도 돌아오는 길을 알아.
I feel like the scale of that performance is just something to
Wild.
acknowledge. It is
Gigantic.
very large, very cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's so much to learn when we watch IU. I think she's a great example of so many things. I think the biggest takeaway that I have when I watch her perform is her like nasal resonance, especially in the higher registers. I feel like she just sings up there with ease in a way that is kind of unique to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate how intentional she is. So like when she chooses to sing, you know, things in different ways dynamically, it kind of it makes me want to really look into that in my own singing of how am I making this different, interesting, you know, than the verse I just sang, you know, and things like that can get really lost. Especially, I typically play guitar while I'm singing, and so it's very easy for me to get kind of lost in me just like doing two things at once, and that kind of robs you of a lot of that artistry and creativity. And so it makes me want to really just make sure that I'm intentional with every phrase.
Absolutely.
You know, that's just a beautiful thing of singing.
I think that's a great way too to prepare songs. Like no matter what you're doing, obviously most of us are not on the scale of selling out arenas, but I think that we can all approach like our performances the same way. You know, this is all an art, a craft, a skill, things that we're working to get better at. So I hope that when you guys watch us break down these singers, you learn something. We are obviously clearly always learning, and it's just a great time watching professionals do what they do best. So if you happen to be new and this was your first video, welcome. We hope you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button, check out another video.
Thank you, Sam, for recommending this video. You are an awesome part of the channel, and we're so happy to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.